there's a life I could have known, one beyond my wildest dreams. Maybe that road could have carried me to streets of gold. Things aren't always as they seem. Looking back on all the chances that I missed, some I held, some slipped away. One street over where my memories exist, I wondered what would change, I really couldn't say. In this life there's nothing certain, except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today. Except the curtain that rises to the stage. Silly games of second guessing, I just forget the lessons that I couldn't learn. Because one street over there's a life I could have known that would have kept me from the one I had today.
Good morning, Robertson County. How you doing? This is 1100 WSGI. I'm U-Turn Laverne, and this is One Street Over. What's happening one street over from where you're living? That's what we're all about here, just trying to answer that question. And man, if you have never heard the story about how this song came to be, our theme song, and just how God just he orchestrated all of this. It's quite a story. I mean, but we're not going to get into that today. We'll get into that story one day when maybe I'm short of gas, because that happens. Sometimes, I'll get up at very early and I'll get a text, oh, I'm sick this morning, and so you get just me. So I'll prattle on about that another day. Today, I want to get right to my friend Ron Baptiste is in the house. I love you, brother.
Thank you.
You're just awesome. And we both have been talking about how we're a little bit worn out because we're getting older.
Yeah.
And we probably need to not take on so many things. But I appreciate you coming in here and talking to me this morning. And get right up on that microphone or pull it to you there. Yeah. Make sure we can hear you nice and big.
There
because I've got some objectives with you this morning.
Okay.
I need some help.
Good.
So I don't think until I talked to you whenever I called to get you on the show that you knew that I was a teacher full time now.
I didn't know that.
Now, I mean, I'm doing all the other things too.
Yeah.
Of course. But, this right here, one of the actual stipulations of when they called me at Greenbrier and said, hey, will you come be our audio video teacher? I told him, I said, well, I'm looking at Springfield because their hours will accommodate what I'm doing on radio, and I really love this, and I don't want to give this up.
Right.
I'm just doing it an hour a day, but it's in my blood.
I know that.
And Ilya Maldonado and Ebenezer Broadcasting, they allow me to continue this. And so I that was one of the stipulations. And they're like, well, your first block can be planning, so that way you can do this and still do your radio. I'm supposed to have some of my students join us Monday. Jamie Nixon's going to be in here, and I thought that would be a really good opportunity to maybe let a few of those guys come in because they're really sports fiends too. One in particular that's coming in, and I think that'll be a good fit, but I digress. So anyway, God lined all this up, and it's so clear to me. And so I'm just so thankful. And it's meeting you and all of your interesting life history is just such a perfect piece of what I'm working on right now at the school.
Yeah.
So my audio video class, one of the very first things I told them when we started, I said, okay, we're building this program. So we're just getting our equipment together. We're still we're using the new cameras and all the fun things that they're getting us, but we're still, one of the most convenient things, we'll take our phones and videotape and do this. We're putting together a documentary though, with, and kind of I don't know why I'm telling you all that, but it doesn't matter the equipment we're using. We're building documentaries. I told the students, I said, regardless of anything else, I can teach you the aspects of broadcasting, pretty much all of them, by building a documentary. Because you've got voiceover, you've got to write content, you've got to go and get interviews. You can encompass just all of those elements in a documentary. So I had the students get in their little groups and present a couple of, I had each, the different groups. We ended up having about 10 different documentary ideas come out of each class, and they voted on it, and the one that got the most vote, that's what we did. Well, the first block class, they're doing one on Bigfoot. Okay, so, and that's a lot of fun, and we're having a lot of fun with that. Well, the second class, they all wanted to do one, and they titled it The Evolution of Drugs. And I'm like, wow, okay, we're going to do Bigfoot. And and it's like, you talk about covering the spectrum.
Yeah.
So as we have been unpacking this, is well, what do we want that to look like? How do we want that to look? How do we want to present that? I'm involved with Recovery Corps. They invited me to be on the board this year, and I'm so honored, and I have accepted that. So I don't know if I'm officially on or if I have to be voted in by the board, but they've asked me to be on the board with Recovery Corps because I went to Recovery Court for the first time a couple of years ago and just fell in love with that redemptive process that we have, and it just blew my mind.
Yeah.
Blew my mind. And one of the most profound things within that, well, I ended up taking my students and to Recovery Court because we were going to do some interviews there. We ended up, it just wasn't a really great background and stuff. I just didn't like I wanted to take them instead to, I'm bringing Judge Perry in. We're going to do an interview. We're going to, Billy Vogel, I haven't really confirmed with him yet. I'm going to get him in. I'm looking to try to interview a couple of really very, there's a doctor I know that's got a lot of international exposure because he was a medic he was special forces medic.
Yeah.
And then there's a doctor that's in his 90s I want to talk to about what they see from the medical side of it. But then I thought, oh, Ron Baptiste, I need to get him in here because my goodness. Do you mind me asking how old are you?
I am, let me think here,
Ha
73.
Okay, so you've seen it.
Yeah.
You've seen it go from what it was before it was laced with fentanyl and all the things, and before we had the opioids that were introduced into this will help you with your pain and all of those things. You were there before that.
It was like in the late 60s.
Yeah.
Marijuana was the thing.
Yeah.
Nobody ever dreamed we'd be in the position we're in today.
Yeah. And so you can speak to that, and then there's another aspect to this, and let's just kind of marry these two things because I think you bring a very unique perspective as a full-blooded Native American. And I'm pretty sure that November is Native American month because when we started school, they said to us, okay, we want, each one of your teachers to take on special months and help promote it. And so I had two that I'm working on, and the first one is Native American month, and it has kind of snuck up on me, but it's November, and we were planning on trying to do a video or something. And then when I thought about interviewing you, and I thought, we could talk to Ron about the Native American stuff too. So I thought we need to get him in and interview him in the class. So will you come talk to my students?
I'm sure I will. Of course I
Thank
will.
you.
Anything
Thank you so
I can do
much.
to help you, I will.
Well, you're awesome. And I don't think I really understood the complexity of your Native American heritage until you came and did the Stories of Amazing Grace at the Madison Church of Christ.
Right.
And that beautiful, they put up an image of you, my goodness, in the regalia, my goodness. When was that taken? Do you remember the image I'm talking about?
Yes, I do. That was taken probably about a little over a year ago, maybe about a year and a half ago.
Oh, wow.
I wanted a photograph of my granddaughter and I, so she would have that. So I put on all of my Indian wear and sat down with her and had a photographer come in and take some shots. And
it's beautiful.
And matter of fact, all of the relatives on her mother's side of the family are just crazy about that photograph.
It's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful. How often do you get all in your regalia very often,
No,
or is it just something?
It's a rarity, very rarity. I'm so involved, in the things going on in this community.
Yeah.
And then on the national scale with different motorcycle clubs and things like that.
Right. Go ahead.
But there's a lot of the Indian powwows going on, things of that nature. I try to make some of those, and sometimes I just can't because, like we said earlier, our schedules are so busy, and it's just very difficult for me to make all of them.
Okay. Well, you've got a complex life and a very interesting life you have lived, my friend. And what you're doing here, I don't think I've been at a recovery court that your name doesn't come up in some regard.
Thank you.
And you come to you've been at the recovery court. I've seen you there.
Yeah. I spoke there once myself.
Yeah. Okay. I don't think I was there for that one because I didn't discover. They've been at it. I forget how many years. But Ace Timmermeyer, she was in here for United Way one day and said something about it, and you need to have them on. And that's where my friendship with Althea and Megan started. Yeah. And I had already known Judge Perry, but I didn't really know about recovery court.
Yeah.
And just fell in love with what they're doing. Just life-changing, incredible.
Well, Tennessee is really blessed to have the people that we have in charge and what's going on right now. We're far ahead of most states in America as far as recovery courts and trying to help out the recovery community.
Well, and having so many friends, you know, I talk a lot about Celebrate Recovery, and my friend Matt Driscoll, I'll never forget whenever the first time he came in, okay, we were in the other studio, and he reached out to me wanting to come on and talk about Celebrate Recovery, and he's like, well, we need to have Celebrate Recovery, and almost like we don't have recovery, and I'm like, are you kidding me? Robertson County, we got Covenant Confirmers, we got what's going on over at what's the one over at the Baptist Church that's down by Co-op, or where Co-op used to be.
I know you
know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But they're huge. And
South Haven.
Yes, they've done just amazing work. So I was so perplexed when he said that, and I was like, what are you talking about? We're deep in recovery. But then he was talking about the Celebrate Recovery program itself, which I've gotten, we've opened up one at Madison, and it's been amazing to me. And I'll real quickly just say Celebrate Recovery is only 30% people who have been alcohol and drug addicted. The other 70% are for all us other messed up people that have just got hurts, habits, and hangups. That's the adage. But it is a program that is not specific to drug and alcohol. It's more like yours is.
Right.
But it has everything. But because of my exposure to that, I have met people who have I met people just breathtaking stories of redemption and lives turned around from addiction and those kinds of strongholds. And it's just given me such a heart for that community.
Yeah.
And so talk to us before we get into all the other things. I just want to kind of plant those seeds in your brain.
Sure.
But we need to talk about, this is Faith Friday. And when did you become a minister? When did you start this stuff?
Well,
because you were kind of a wild thing.
Oh yeah. Matter of fact, I got born again through prison ministry.
Oh, okay.
I was doing some time, and when I got out, I decided to go into the ministry, and so that was back in the early '70s.
Okay.
And so anyway, I got licensed to minister back then, but without going to a long story, some things happened. Kind of like I had a fallout with the powers that be in the church. And I walked away from everything. And then my life really spiraled out of control after that. But I did find my way back. And through a pastor that used to be pastor out here at a church, Barren Plains, Brother Glenn Copeland, when he was pastoring that church. And I saw the love of God in that man, and that helped bring me back. And so ever since then, I've been on fire for this and keep going.
And you are on fire. I love it. And talk to me about when, because I love the story. I know it, but for those who have not heard it, talk to me about the story of how Covenant Confirmers happened. And I love the story of the building and the cost of it and how you know what I mean? Just tell that story.
Well, we started out at my dining room table.
Right.
And of course, today there's over thousands of biker churches. But back then, when God gave me direction to start a biker church, nobody had ever even heard of such an animal. And I even had some of my pastor friends suggest that I not do that.
That's heresy, right?
Yeah, and they also warned me that people would be afraid to come to it. But I knew what God had directed me to do, and I stuck with it. And when I stuck with it, we started out at my dining room table with about 6 people. We quickly outgrew that. Then we moved into my 2-car garage.
Oh, wow.
And I went down to Walmart and bought some of them little white plastic chairs, set them out in my 2-car garage, and we would hold Sunday service in our 2-car garage. And I first brought in a loud Christian hard rock band in a 2-car garage.
What'd the neighbors think?
Oh, man, the neighbors were crazy. But this is just the direction that God was leading me in. And the big deal was the fact that I recall that when I was lost and I went to church somewhere, I rode up on my motorcycle, and I wasn't made to feel real comfortable there. And then when they stuck that hymnal in my hand, I never heard anything else the preacher said. All I wanted was out of there. Of course, you know, we that are born again believers, we love the old gospel songs, the old Baptist hymn, love it. But lost people do not like it. And I had to make up my mind who was going to be my targeted people that I was going to go after. Was I going to go after the already born again saved, or am I going to go after the lost? I chose to go after the lost. So that's why I went with the hard rock gospel bands. And so once we outgrew the 2-car garage, we rented the FOP Lodge here in Springfield.
Fraternal Order of Police?
Of all places.
I was going to say.
Yeah.
That's funny.
And so we were growing really well in there. We thought we were in high cotton, to tell you the truth. And so we outgrew that pretty quick. And then I rented where the old Cunningham car lot used to be. I rented that first half of that building. And long story short, we ended up buying that piece of property, and we have paid it off. We're debt-free. We remodeled everything over there. And God has really, really blessed us. And there are now literally thousands of biker churches all across the country. So
I love it. I love the story. And I think, too, we talked some during the whole COVID thing and how some churches have had a hard time surviving and staying afloat. But you guys got ahead of that, and y'all are solid, right?
We're solid, and the big deal is I'm also a big history nut, so I like to study church history as well. And I saw the moves of God in the past, and I wanted to make sure that I did make some of the same mistakes that were already made. But things worked out for us to where we financially was able to pay everything off. And I was so glad that we did, because I couldn't have foreseen COVID coming.
Yeah.
I couldn't have foreseen the housing market crashing. But what happened was when we were making, I don't want to use the word making, the funds were coming in really good. And when they were, we with good financial advice, which my wife Cricket handles the funds.
Yeah.
And so we ended up paying everything off. And I saw some churches, and this is during the time when the mega churches were starting to expand. And what I saw some of these mega churches borrowing so much money to compensate for the crowds that they were bringing in. But yet, and then the housing market hit, then COVID hit, and people lost their jobs. And I saw a lot of churches go under, and some mega churches go under. And I was just so grateful that we had listened to the biblical plans in God's Word of paying things off, getting out of debt, instead of going deeper in debt.
Right.
So that helped us right there. So we're completely out of debt and doing well.
And I love that, because you guys provide such a wonderful service. And even during COVID, I know you were in here and you were saying, we just can't shut our doors. We got to be there for these folks.
We had to, because of the fact that I have such a heart for that recovery community. And I know the ins and outs of that. And when people are battling with recovery, they need support groups. They need help. And without that help, they're going back.
You bet.
And we could talk about people in different parts of this industry or the different parts of this ministry field. But until you have worked hand in hand with the addicts and seen the destruction that it brings on the family, and especially the children. You just got to do what's right, and stick with it. Do what's right. I just couldn't close, and because they needed it so badly, and I didn't even talk to some of them, and some of them tried to watch some of this like on Zoom, and they said they would get bored real quick watching recovery on Zoom, and they would end up going back to their addiction. And then thus starts the whole cycle all over again.
You know, and it's something too that I think is rather unique from you that I have, because oftentimes, and again, this is not something that's been a stronghold for me. So I'm from the, I try to understand it. It's hard for me though, because praise God, I have not had to experience it personally. Thank the Lord. I'm so thankful, but that doesn't mean it won't happen one of these days, because it's just, it knows no respecter of persons. That's one of the things I was going to say about recovery court. When we have it, they have a remembrance ceremony.
Yeah.
That's what I really wanted the students to see, and because they ran late, and we ended up having to leave right in the middle of that, and it just broke my heart. Well, because of us having to leave at that awkward time, we showed the remembrance thing to the students later, and we're going to do, in our documentary, we're going to do a remembrance and talk about the people who didn't make it that we know, and kind of drive that home, because so many people just, until they've been touched by it, or until they've seen just real visible evidence of what it does. I had one of my students come. I told him, I said, if you've had somebody that's been lost to addiction, we want to know it, because we want to do a remembrance. And he raised his hand. He goes, "My mom."
Yeah.
And then he gave me a picture of him and his mom together, and it just just broke my heart.
Yeah.
But we don't know the stories. I've got a teacher friend of mine, two siblings that she's lost to addiction, and so. I have heard you, as I've heard from families that have had to walk through that. I've heard them talk about those moments where they have to kind of wash their hands of the person, but you say that is not what you need to do.
No,
you
exactly.
say, and so you because I've heard, and you're probably one of the few ministers I've ever heard advocate for don't ever let go.
No,
Speak to that a little bit. Because that's hard. That's hard.
People don't understand the power of addiction. They don't understand what it does to somebody. But when you let go, all hope is gone. That's it. I mean, you're just giving them all over to the dark side. And even though it seems like that you're kind of busting your head against the wall, like it's not going anywhere, at least you're putting forth the effort. And regardless of the cost, we have to put forth the effort. And when we do that, we're going to lose some, but we're also going to gain some. And I've got several wonderful testimonies like that in my church of people that were in that position. And I, like you said, I've even got one that started this whole ministry with me back when we first got started. And unfortunately, he went back to the drugs because of some surgeries that he had to have, pain meds sent him back. And he got a hold of some bad dope, and it killed him. And it's just very sad. But I saw his struggle. I saw how he legitimately tried. He just could not overcome it, and it killed him.
Yeah.
But when we let go of individuals like that, 'cause we look at it like parents punishing a child, and this is not that at all. These people, we like. I'll give you a great example. I had one set of parents tell me they were going to kick their child out of the house, show them tough love. And I understand their thought process on that. But at the same time, I asked them. I said, "Well, listen, if your child had cancer, would you kick your child out?" Of course not. Well, it's the same thing with addiction. This is a medical issue. They may have done some immoral things, but this is not a moral issue. This is a medical issue. Addiction is a medical issue. They have a problem. And if we give up on them, there's no hope. There's nothing else there. And I'm here also today to be so thankful because, when we started our recovery programs at our church, we were one of the rare churches that had so many recovery programs going. I mean, we've got one going almost every night of the week. And now churches all over Robertson County have got recovery programs going. So I take great honor in that these churches are doing that because they see the need of it.
Yeah.
And the community has to know that the church cares about them. I mean, we're going to go the extra mile. That's what's important.
Well, and I'll tell you, let me go ahead and do I've got a couple of housekeeping things I got to do, some spots I need to do. When we come back, let's just make sure we unpack all the schedule you have. So let's go through what you have available and the times and all that. So we'll do that just as soon as we get back from the break here. But let me go ahead and pause for a second before I just jump into. I'm going to talk about Veterans Motorplex in just a second. But I also remind you that Lee Marie's coming on at 8 o'clock right after this show. She does that on the first Friday of the month, and she has on the Wild Doc from up in Clarksville. This is my chiropractor. I drive to Clarksville for him. I wish he were here in Springfield because he's amazing. But he is going to have some free consultations over at the Health Kick between 9:30 and 10:30. If you've ever heard him in some of his interviews that he's done with Lee Marie, and I've had him on just I think once, but great guy, very innovative when it comes to chiropractic care, and just really encourage you to listen to that and go by Health Kick between 9:30 and 10:30 today if you can. Also, too, coming up Sunday night at Springfield Baptist, we have got, it's called the Robertson County Parent Power, and this is from Decisions, Choices, and Options. Joy Wassel, when she was in here last month, talked about it. This Sunday is the day. It is 6 p.m. at Springfield Baptist Church, and it is, again, Robertson County Parent Power. I'm not going to be able to be there because of the CMA work that my husband and I do, and I mentioned that to Joy at the time, but I cannot say enough about going by and finding out what Decisions, Choices, and Options is all about and how they're working to empower parents. It's a powerful, powerful night that you're going to witness on Sunday night. Veterans Motorplex. Talked to Jerry this week, and they're down to just 2 scheduled days of racing, this Saturday and next Saturday. Now, because of the cold weather and the time changes, gates now open at 2 instead of 4. Gates open at 2. Racing scheduled to start at 4, but this week they're going to have a trunk or treat that they had to postpone from last week, but they're going to have trunk or treat out of race cars at 4 p.m. on the track. So that is a big deal. Put the costumes on the kiddos one more time and go out and see them at Highland Rim. But before if for some reason we have stormy weather and rain, that cancels the races, y'all. So this is one of those things. There's been a lot of talk about, well, the forecast this weekend, we don't know what's going to be, but we're just going to pray they have a wonderful window of beautiful weather for Saturday night. And then next week, they're going to finish it off in a very, very big way. They're going to have the races, and they're also going to have a demo derby. It's going to be a lot of fun. So the ticket price this weekend for 8 people, and that's 6 minor kids and 2 adults, is $40. Next weekend, it'll be a $50 ticket because they're going to have the demo races on the back end of it as well. But it's going to be fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to be there next Saturday night, and cannot wait to see you there to finish off this big season with Veterans Motorplex, one of our wonderful sponsors here at 1 Street over. They're at 6801 Kelly Willis Road in Greenbrier. If you want details, you can call them at 615-643-8725. The best way to find out all that's going on is to go to Highland Rim Speedway on Facebook, and you'll see the banner up there that says Veterans Motorplex. They did not start up a new Facebook page. The Highland Rim Speedway page is the Veterans Motorplex page, so just go there, and that way you'll stay up to date on everything happening at the racetrack. And when you go by there, please let them know U-Turn sent you, and thank them for being one of our sponsors here. Let's get over. Ron Baptiste, my friend at Covenant Confirmers Church, doing all the things. He's been getting it all done, and really just innovative work that you guys do within the recovery community. Like you said, you got something pretty much going on every night, so unpack your schedule for everyone.
Monday night we have what is called Recover and Restore. It's faith-based, so we have that going on Monday night. Tuesday night is Narcotics Anonymous. And Wednesday night, now come the first of the year, I'm going to institute a new program for Wednesday night, which is going to be like a Wednesday night church service for all of the recovery groups at one time.
Okay.
And because there are some recovery groups that frown if someone brings up the name Jesus. or Christianity. And I'm not putting that down. That's their choice. You know, it's just like Jesus said, give unto Caesar that is Caesar's, and unto God that is God. But yet there are believers in recovery that need the word. And they need to feel the freedom to speak and testify as they feel the need to. So come the first of the year, I'm going to have a Wednesday night service, which is going to be for all the support groups come together at once. And they'll be able to voice however they want to voice it.
Get right up on that microphone for me. We're having a hard time getting good audio out of you. Yeah, stay right on that. Good deal.
And so that's we're looking forward to that. And also, this is something I've recently, of course, this is kind of like unpeeling an onion when you're looking at recovery. But we've run across something very recently that disturbed me. I saw where I'll give you an example. We had a family come to our recovery meeting, and the mother had been doing drugs while she was pregnant. So naturally, the child that was born with some disabilities. And the parents need recovery. But they were asked to leave other support groups because the child was just so unruly. And the parents just felt, not only did they feel embarrassed about it, but they weren't getting the help that they needed. So we're looking into, and matter of fact, I met with some of the people from the state last night in my office. We're looking at a program now where we're going to be able to bring somebody in to watch the challenged children while the parents are going to get the recovery help that they need. Because right now, they're not getting it because they can't afford a babysitter. And they can't bring their child into other support group meetings because they're so disruptive. And they just feel at a loss. It's bad enough going through addiction, trying to recover, without being ostracized from the community and what appears to be from the church. So this is something we're looking into, and we're going to have this ready to go as of the first of the year.
Okay. And what time are your services on Sunday? If somebody wants to come on in, Gwen.
Yeah, starts at 10:30.
10:30. Okay. And and one of these days I'm going to pop in there. I have a hard time getting there because I work at, pull your microphone on around there. We got Gwen Harder joining us. She joins us at 7:30. And you're welcome to stay, Ron, while we'll just all talk together, just whatever, if your schedule will allow it. Gwen, I don't know, are you going to talk about what's going on in your world maybe? But I don't know if you can or not. But
not yet.
Okay. But anyway, so good morning.
It's exciting.
Yes, she's got some. She's going to Israel Monday.
All right.
That's one of them. She's going with Ilyu's group to Israel.
Good.
So
I'll learn Spanish. So I'm going to Israel.
Yeah, because it's so funny. I said, you know, it's going to be in Spanish, sister. Yeah, I think that's wonderful. But we're talking with Ron Baptiste. I don't know if you've caught the show, but all these things I have going on at school, I need to talk to him, and we want to talk about all of his recovery program that he has as well, and all the cool things that are going on there. But so we were talking about the Sunday services. Have you ever been to Covenant Confirmers?
I have
We've got to do that one Sunday morning.
We should.
We got to do that one Sunday morning.
Get out our leather jackets and go.
You don't have to do that. You don't have to do that. I don't have a leather jacket. I know just like I look.
That's right.
There's no special dress or no special attire at all.
We got a saying that says that in our churches where suits and leather can worship together.
I love it. I love it. I think Judge Joel Perry has been there, hasn't he?
He's been there several times.
Yeah, and he told me, he says, first time I went, I was like, okay, wow. Because, I mean, it's band and it's...
Oh, yeah.
It's,
right.
Tell them how you call people to worship. This is hysterical.
We've got 2 custom motorcycles on the stage, and my pulpit is made out of the front end of a custom motorcycle. And so when we get ready to start the services, we start the motorcycles up in the sanctuary.
Look.
So people,
right?
Inside.
Yes.
Inside. So people that are outside the building, we have a clubhouse upstairs, we have a lobby out front. People are just everywhere. But when they hear the motorcycle start up, everybody knows it's time to come in the sanctuary.
I love it.
That's their shofar.
That's their shofar, yeah.
They come in for the praise and worship. And the praise and worship, it's all gospel. But it's Southern rock gospel, blues gospel, hard rock gospel.
Oh.
And we've got what we call the Las Vegas Light Show. And it just, all this fog comes out. And the reason that is because it makes the lost people feel more comfortable.
It's what they know.
Yeah.
It's what they know.
And then they're ready to receive the Word of God. And it works for us.
You're meeting them where they're at.
I mean, that's what Jesus did, y'all.
Right.
Hey, I mean, that's what Jesus did. Go watch The Chosen, which is season 3 is on it's coming out.
The 18th. The 18th.
They're
is
going to do
in
theater
theaters,
stuff, yeah.
And I've got my tickets.
Are you going? Where
I'm
is it?
so excited. It's
That's an expensive ticket.
No, it's $13.
Oh, is it? Well, they're doing the first one I saw was like 100 and something. That was a
special,
fundraiser.
Yes, those are special showings.
Okay, I didn't know they had the tickets on sale yet for the actual.
Hendersonville.
Okay,
At Indian Lakes.
Oh, I can't wait. But are you familiar with The Chosen?
I'm familiar with it.
Have you watched it?
No, I haven't.
Oh, Ron, you need to watch it. It's so good.
Schedule, I haven't been able to see it.
Yeah, you just haven't. Well, I mean, that's the thing. You just don't sit down and watch television, do you?
Very rarely.
Yeah.
Very rarely.
Well,
This is worth it.
It is really breathtaking.
Yeah.
It is really. I've gotten some of the Celebrate Recovery guys up at Long Hollow. They're like, Laverne, quit showing Chosen clips at Celebrate Recovery because
They work so well.
they're like, what are you doing? You're supposed to stick to the thing, and that's because it's all uniform, and they want people to have the same things. Kind of like the Catholic Church.
Yeah.
Wherever you go, they want you to get the same thing. I'm just saying. But anyway, I will oftentimes, because the redemption of Mary Magdalene, if that's not a redemption story, and she
Brings
has
tears to their eyes
it's incredible
every time.
and
Every time.
so many things
Yep.
throughout the
Yep.
Chosen that relates to what we deal with in recovery. And so, you would like it, Ron. You'd like it. But talking with Ron Baptiste and Gwen Harder here at One Street Over. Thank you for joining us. I had some really wonky things go on with Facebook yesterday. I was signed into the wrong page, so it's all me, all operator error. Just oops, it wasn't Facebook. So let me go ahead and do one of my breaks here. And let's talk about Barry and Rebecca Richards with the Exit Realty Garden Gate team, my friends in real estate. And another one of my friends who I go, hey, come talk to my kids, just like I'm hitting up Ron here, because he is an expert. He was a vice president of a media marketing company in Nashville for 17 years. So when he comes to the real estate table, he is a Zillow certified photographer, licensed and insured drone pilot, can do those 360-degree virtuality home tours. We'll get you up on realtor.com. He knows all the things to make sure people, I kind of compare it to what, I don't know what Tinder is. I mean, I know what it is, where you a dating app, and they say you'll flip through pictures like this. Same thing happens with your house. Okay, if you got property for sale, think about it like people on Tinder going, no. If you don't have photography that makes your property pop, if you don't have things that get their attention, you might not get another shot at it. And that's just the reality of what we're dealing with now. That's one of the reasons why audio video production and what we're teaching at Greenbrier is so important, because it's everywhere. Every aspect of your professional life can touch how you present what you do. And so having somebody like Barry on your real estate team is just priceless. You got his wife, Rebecca, who a lot of people will go, I'm thinking I might look into real estate. And that's what happened with her. She was in radiology, and somebody said, you'd make a great realtor. And man, she's been at it for a long time. One of the first in the area to be a seniors real estate specialist. They're from Cross Plains. They've been there for over 20 years. So they're one of us. They know this county. They know it well. So they specialize in Robertson County properties, but they also buy and sell in the surrounding counties across the state line in Kentucky. If you want to connect with them, if something I've said makes you think, I got to reach out to them, maybe you want to be a realtor. They say, come join their team at Exit Realty. But you can connect with them at sellwithbecky.com, sellwithbecky.com, or buy, robertsoncounty.com, or you can just call them 615-504-7425, 615-504-7425. Always tell them that you sent you. Gwen Harder, Ron Baptiste. Anything you want to add? Anything that you do? Gwen comes in, and I never know what she's bringing. Anything particular that you need to bring to the table today, sister?
Listening to Ron on the way in, it's so true. Don't abandon them. Yeah. God doesn't abandon us.
Exactly.
Right.
We do all kinds of things that break his heart.
Yeah.
And he's always there for us.
And I got to tell you,
Always
though,
there for
having
us.
not walked that walk, I've had friends.
I can imagine it's very difficult.
that they've made that choice, and I wouldn't dare try to say what I would do in there, because I don't know.
Right, exactly.
Or they've been so hurt, so I can't. And that's why I wanted you to address it, because it's something that until somebody's told us, hang in there. We've got so many other people telling us, oh, you got to tough love.
Right.
And you're saying that is not what they
That's
need.
not the answer.
Yeah.
And see, and you're really one of the only people I've ever heard say that, Ron.
Yeah.
Well,
And
most of us, we kind of come from like ministers and stuff. We come from like a moral aspect of it, you know.
right.
But the truth of the matter is, you know, this, like I said earlier, this is a medical issue.
Mm-hmm.
And if we'll approach it from that end, you'll understand it better.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like some of them, when they start doing drugs, they mentally stop developing.
Wow.
And then, you know, and then once, and we have so much training available here. We Tennesseans are so fortunate to have the training, the free training that is offered to us by the state, and it's there. And I'd like to see every church get involved in that.
You had mentioned that to me, and the last time I had you in, it was prior to being hired to be a teacher, and that was on my agenda with the. And I even mentioned it. I had a staff meeting just a few days later, and I said we got to do this. Right then, I got hired away, and so it's just not, you know, it's another thing.
Not in your schedule at this time.
Yeah, but tell people what this is about, because I think people really need to know about this. Can you unpack that for us?
Sure. Well, number one, as I said earlier, it's about the training, that everybody can get the training. But what I've also seen is pastors need this training, because pastors don't realize how much addiction is in their church. And they don't know what to look for. And if you know what to look for, you know, I've spoke with some pastors, and I've had even some of them tell me that they don't have that problem in their church, and they do.
Yeah.
You know, they just don't know what to look for.
Right.
But you know, you just take like a young person in high school, an athlete. If they get hurt in sports, they're going to give them some kind of pain meds. And what they don't realize, what that pain med is doing to that athlete. And then when the pain med runs out, that athlete is going to get the drug. And here's something a lot of people don't realize, that heroin is cheaper than pain med and easier to get.
Oh, that's incredible.
And more deadly now.
Yeah.
So.
And, well, with all that's one thing I talk to my students about. I said, you know, I'm a child of the 60s and 70s, and, you know, I grew up exposed to the hippie era and all of those things. Now, I never, you know, I grew up in a very conservative home, so I was never in that world, but I saw that. And so I saw what drug use was like then, and it was so different. Yeah. And so to compare what we had then to what's going on now, it's just not even close.
Yeah.
It's apples and oranges, because it's so chemically derived that, like you said, it develops into something that affects you medically.
Right.
Yeah. If you're predisposed, I mean, I've met families. Judge Perry will talk about this, how he'll have generational people come before his court.
I see it in my church all the time.
Wow. And so you can see, because I mean, there's definitely something to this. Yes, you raise your family as best you can, but I'm sorry, this knows no respect of people.
It doesn't.
And I mean, all of my children at some point have had a surgery where they had to be on pain meds. Praise the Lord. I don't know of any of them that have ever had an issue with it, because apparently we're not predisposed to it.
Right.
You know.
Well, you talk about radio and the 80s. I was part of I knew a DJ in Orlando at the time, and radio in the 80s was crazy. I mean, top 40 radio was crazy, and I would hang out on the weekends at the stations. And here's my but God moment. When you're 16, 17, 18 years old and you're hanging out at a radio station and you walk in on a Saturday afternoon and they've got lines of cocaine because they're DJs and that's what they do, and it's the 80s. This was my thought process. Gwen, would you like to try this? My immediate reaction was, gee, if I like it, how do I get it?
Yep.
And that was my first reaction and I said, no, I think I'll pass.
Yep.
And that to me, that was the Holy Spirit.
Yep.
That was the Holy Spirit coming in and going, no, you don't want that.
saving you from
like the scene in The Chosen when Mary Magdalene's going for that drink, and Christ's hand comes over hers and goes, "That's not for you." Mm-hmm. And that's what I relate it to. I mean, it's just having that spiritual awareness to say, what do I do if I like that, and now I want more of it. Mm-hmm. So don't even go there.
Yeah,
don't even try it.
And it is amazing. And it's just, we're kind of all over the place here, but we're talking with Ron Baptiste, who is the pastor at Covenant Confirmers. And if you're not familiar with Covenant Confirmers, where have you been? It's the biker church. And they have got programs almost every day. And Ron's there it's so funny. I'll think, I need to call Ron. And then I'll think, oh, he won't be there. And he'll be like, this is Pastor Ron. And he's there. I'm there. I catch you at some bizarre hours. And I think, well, I'll just leave him a message and he'll pick up the phone. Yeah. I'm like, dog, man, you crack me up. Because I don't have your cell phone. I just got the church number, but I can always get you. Mm-hmm. It cracks me up because of all the stuff you've got going on. So I tell you, I've got one more break to do, so let me go ahead and do that, and then we'll come back and we'll try to wrap things up. We've got to, of course, send Gwen off with great celebration as she gets ready to go to Israel. I'm so jealous. And I just, one of these days, maybe God will let me go to the land.
Yes.
But not yet. Have you ever been to Israel?
Have not.
Oh, is it something that's on your bucket list, as they say? Or?
I'd like to, that's for sure.
Yeah.
But there are other places that in my heart I'd rather see first.
Oh, really? What? Yeah, I'm curious.
From my Indian heritage.
Gotcha, from your Native American heritage.
Yeah.
What would be one? I'm curious. Because, see, this is Native American month, I think.
Yeah.
It is.
I'm supposed to. Is it? I think
is.
so. And I've got to do something.
Or is that October? No, I don't know.
No, I think it's November. I hope I didn't miss it. I was supposed to do. I've got so much going on at school, but I'll look it up. But what would be one of the places you'd want to go for your Native American heritage?
Wounded Knee.
Oh, of course. Yes. Yes.
You know, and I understand how some people feel about that.
Yeah.
But, you know, being a full-blooded American Indian, I'm attracted to it because I want to know more about it. And even though I know about it from history books, it's different when you're there standing on the land where the blood was spilled.
Yep, exactly. Seeing what they saw.
Exactly.
Yep.
Yeah.
It is November.
There you go.
We still have time, Ron.
That's right.
We can bring it into the school.
We can do it.
Do you want to put on your regalia and come into the school, or would that be too much?
I can.
Oh, you don't have to. Like I said, if you don't put that on, because we can put that picture, we can put that big, beautiful picture up. Yeah. But you would come in and talk to really my audio video classes. Yeah. I don't know that they do a lot of assemblies and stuff. We are having a gathering for this remembrance ceremony that we're doing the week of Thanksgiving. But we need to do something for Native American month, and also too because we're within the Trail of Tears pathway, and I don't know exactly where it comes through, but I see the signage. So I mean, I'm going to try to reach out to the tourism board and get something.
It's unique that here's the Trail of Tears coming through here. Yeah. And I live about a mile from where the Trail of Tears came through.
Wow.
And that's how my families got together. My mother is Sioux Indian from the Lakota tribe. My father's Choctaw Indian. And the way they got together was on the Trail of Tears.
Wow.
It came right through here within a mile of the home that I now own.
Wow. Oh my gosh. I can't wait to introduce you to my students. I love you, brother. I love you so much. I just love it when God just brings these just so interesting lives and our paths get to cross and we get to just learn from each other.
I know it.
And it's just beautiful. It's just beautiful. I love it. So good. So good. Well, we got to talk about Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. Let's talk about them real quick. I think Amy would really get me if I didn't say today is the Christmas sampler opening. Okay, because today's the 4th of November, and so the Christmas sampler opens today at 4 p.m. at the center. Somebody took my little flyer that I had here, but it benefits the Keeping Up the Women's Club, the house, and I forget exactly what they call it, but there it is. There you go. I'm going to get you. Melanie Marie had it, but it benefits the Glen Memorial Women's Club, and so it opens at 4 p.m. today. It's a $10 ticket. We'll get you in until 4 to 9 today, but that $10 ticket's still good for tomorrow as well, and it's all day tomorrow, 8:30 to 5. Now, if you don't want to go today and you just want to go tomorrow, that ticket's $5. Great times. It's a sellout thing when it comes to what's going on in the community. Great vendors. It's just kind of a Christmas tradition here. Not kind of, it is. But Amy will be there. She will not have all the Corbin stuff. She's there as a representative of the Glen Memorial Women's Club. But so she'll be there in her black apron. The thing is, my point is, if you have questions about the sampler and how you get on the waiting list in February, if you want to have a booth there, that's how far in advance you got to get this done, guys. But you can also talk to her about what they do at Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. Go to the best way to stay up on the business is to go to their Facebook page. They do a beautiful job of keeping you apprised of all the things going on. The hours change through the cold weather months. Right now, they're looking at Monday through Saturday. They're open from 10 to 4. Sundays are open from 1 to 4. What can you get at Corbin right now? Well, houseplants, of course, and beautiful succulents, all kinds of beautiful things. They still have some pansies that are great for fall color. And they do pretty. I've got this winter cabbage I got there that's been doing great, even in really cold weather. Also, too, they are my CBD provider because my doctor told me to use CBD to help my arthritis. And you got to be very careful with that stuff. You've got to make sure you know what you're getting because, as we were talking about, people are just playing with all kinds of things. But this is made out of plants grown right here in Robertson County by her brother Bill. And so we know it's pure. It's exactly what you are looking for to help you with arthritic pain and other health issues. The salves that they make, great for bug bites and all kinds of rashes and the pain. We were in a bad car accident when I was in 4th grade. My mother got the brunt of it. We got hit by a drunk driver. And they told her then that everywhere she was injured is where her arthritis is going to settle. And oh my goodness, her neck and her shoulders, it's really bad some days. And she can use that salve and it really helps her. So can't say enough about it, guys. Go and talk to them. And when you get by there, you know what to do. Just tell them U-turn Ascension. They'll fill you in on all the things. Thank you for sponsoring from Corbin Creek Greenhouse Gifts and Gardening Center. Okay, guys. We've got to talk about what as we wrap up here. We've got about 9 minutes, brother. What are we missing? What are we missing, Ron?
Concerning which issue?
Well, whatever you want to talk about. What's on your mind? What would you like to bring to the table? Anything particular?
What I'd like to bring to the table real quickly is just to remind all the churches of the help that's out there for them, the training that's out there available.
Like you were saying.
Education is extremely important. And my personal opinion is that's why we're, as I call it, losing this war. We don't have enough people that are educated enough to know exactly what's going on out here. If we could educate the churches and educate the pastors, we could look for these signs. They're obvious if you know what to look for. And then once we see that, then we can get the people the help that they need. And like I said earlier, I'm thrilled to see more support groups now throughout more churches in Robertson County.
Absolutely.
But always remember this: there's so much training, suicide training, mental health training. They train you in how to deal with young people, how to deal with adults. It's all there and it's free.
Oh, yeah, and we've talked about this, Lee Marie. I've already talked about it. She's bringing me the parent power thing from Decisions, Choices, and Options. And Springfield Baptist, I know they've got a support group that's started now, and I don't have the details. I'm going to get them on Tuesdays. That's about the families that are going through it and how to, it's very specific, if I'm not mistaken. And I've got to get them on because I don't know all the details, but that's a thing for families that are dealing with addiction and they really don't. Well, I don't even think it's Al-Anon. I think it's something different, but it's a Tuesday night thing. But we'll get some details on that. But that's at Springfield Baptist.
Yeah, that's a good point.
This is Sunday night. The Decisions, Choices, and Options.
It's
program.
a family problem.
Yes,
it's not an individual problem. It's a family problem.
And like you said too, it's the medical. Lee Marie just got it all. The parent support group. It's called PAL, Parents of Addicted Loved Ones, and it's Tuesdays 6:30 to 8 at Springfield Baptist Church. And so like you said, there's this kind of stuff all the way around the community, and we've got to know what's going on and embrace it and educate ourselves.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm stunned at the difference just in my spirit and my understanding since I got involved with celibacy recovery and very intentional about it. And
what better way to help yourself than help somebody else?
You bet.
And step out of yourself and help someone else, and you will be amazed at how much it benefits you.
Well, and I'm telling you, I'm not so arrogant to say this could never affect my family. You know, I praise the Lord for the fact that we've not had to deal with it. Mm-hmm. And my son that was in the military, there's no telling what he was exposed to. I have no idea what was going on in there. You know, I think about what he was in Afghanistan, and I mean, I'm like, what was happening there? But if he had, and I don't know what he did, but if he'd been predisposed to this stuff, but how do I know my grandchildren? Or it couldn't happen with one of my children. Any of us who think, well, that's not a problem for me, I don't have to worry about it. There, but for the grace of God, go I. Mm-hmm. Yep. You better teach yourself and teach your family about this stuff and the seriousness of this stuff, and do not just be like, oh, it's not a problem for us.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, praise the Lord if it's not, but be aware that it could be. And
everybody has their breaking point.
Yeah.
And individuals, they want to escape. Like you said, your son over in Afghanistan, what is he seeing? What is he dealing with that he just, that's not what he dealt with when he was growing up.
Right.
That's not something that we're familiar with. Over there, it may not be that big of a deal, but over here, it's like something that totally just gets us out of this box that we live in, and you want to escape.
Yeah.
And that's what a lot of this is. It's just
hopelessness drives a lot of people to the drugs, because their future just doesn't look good, and
they feel they have no control.
Yeah, and they come from what I call generational curses. They come from families who addiction is just passed down through the generation,
right?
And that they feel hopeless, and this is why the church needs to get involved.
Absolutely,
and get all the training. Individuals need to get involved, whether they're part of a church organization or not. If they could look some of this stuff up and get the training themselves, their family's going to need that training. Someone in your family is going to need this training.
You better believe
I
it.
guarantee it. They're going to need it.
Eventually.
Yep.
And with that said, we're about to run out of time. I see the Wild Doc is in the house. I love that guy. He's going to be coming on here with Lee Marie in just a moment. But let's just I want to wrap it up with something that you brought up last week. And I think you'll appreciate this, Ron. And we were talking last week about how we were just about to touch into November, and we're in November now. It's the 4th, and tomorrow is my 34th anniversary. Thank you very much.
Happy anniversary.
Happy anniversary, honey. I love you very much. And we'll probably, I don't know, he'll probably be working soon. We actually get to go to a wedding tomorrow. A kid that's just kind of like one of our own. And Casey and Kayla are getting married tomorrow afternoon. And so it's kind of cool. They're sharing an anniversary with us. So we're going to get to do that celebration. He's going to do CMAs in the morning. But anyway, I digress. We're in November. Happy anniversary, hon. But we talk about, this is something our friend Glenn Beck introduced me to when I was working for him down at the Blaze, and he talked about the trilogy of the holiday trilogy. And he says, and I just love the way that they unpack this every year, but they talk about it starts in November as we approach Thanksgiving and just being thankful for everything.
Entering the gates with Thanksgiving.
Amen. Yeah. And then you've December, the birth and the salvation and the hope that we have through that new birth of Jesus Christ. And then that launching into a new year and the new perspective and how you renew yourself. Don't do New Year's resolutions. Just be new.
Right.
Just be new every year.
Yeah.
And I love the way he unpacks it. And I said, it's something I want us to really talk about. And you said, I'm going to do only prayers of thanksgiving in November.
Yep.
God knows what I need. I'm quoting her.
Yep.
God knows what I need. I'm just going to do prayers of thanksgiving. I thought, well, that'll be hard because then I want to pray for my family and all this.
But you're not asking that for you. You're asking that for someone. I'm not asking anything for me.
Well, let me tell you what I did. I didn't, on November 1st, it wasn't on my mind. So as I started my prayers yesterday, I thought, I'm going to try that. It was fun. It was fun. I was like, oh, this is cool. It's like instead of saying, hey, Lord, be with my son, it's like I'm praising you because of what you are doing in his life. I've got friends in Ukraine. I've got very dear friends in Ukraine. I'm praising you, Lord, for how you're conquering the evil in Ukraine and you're taking care of my friend Lydia's parents.
Yes.
And how you're overcoming all this and how I'm big on praying for our first responders. I thank you, Lord, that you're delivering protection for all this, and I have my little prayer list of first responders, and I'm like, oh, you can do it.
It does. It does a whole new spin.
It does.
Yep.
And it's so uplifting. It's not burdensome. I mean, it just. And I thank you. Thank you for that, because that was cool.
That's good.
That's a cool experience.
I think
it may have an aspect of changing my prayer life forever.
Sure.
Oh, that's what he says,
Enter the gates with thanksgiving. That's what he does.
And think about the beginning of the Lord's Prayer. It's like, our Father who art in heaven, holy is your name.
Yep.
It's your praising on the front end.
That's
anyway,
right.
We got to go. It's 8:00. I love you, Ron.
Love you.
Thank you for being here.
Sunday, I follow Voice of the Martyrs.
Yes.
And Sunday is an International Day of Prayer for Persecuted Christians.
Sunday is an International Day of Prayer for Persecuted Christians. Let's be praying for our persecuted Christians across the globe.
Because there are a lot of them out there. China cracking down. Russia will probably be cracking down.
It's heartbreaking.
Keep them in your prayers.
Absolutely. And praise how God's going to deliver them. Make it a prayer of praise, because we know he is able and willing, if the people who are called by his name will humble themselves and pray and seek his face. Oh my goodness.
The power that we will have.
Oh my goodness. What might he do? Thank you guys for joining us. This is 1100 WSGI. I am finished for the day. Be sure and join us next week. I'm going to have some of my kiddos on here. Jamie Nixon's going to be joining us. It's going to be a fun week. And coming up, Lee Marie and the Ghost Show, and my friend, the Wild Doc. You're going to want to hear from him, and you can see him today, 9:30 to 8:30, or no, 9:30 to 10:30 at Health Kick. Go see him. God bless. Have a wonderful weekend. And happy anniversary, Mark.